He's the only master firewalker instructor in the UK. He trains the original course that Tolly Burkan created. He works with Tony Robbins. In fact, he was part of the team who brought Tony to the UK in the early 90s. We're very grateful. He's been a YESx group member for 3 years and a table sponsor for 2 years, and he's a massive, massive supporter of YESx Group London. Please give it up for Steve Conclaves!
I love that song, and pretty much that song has got everything that I want to talk and share with you about this evening, because one of the things that we talk about is basically quantum character, and it's that kind of character or that experience that you have when you've made a very, very clear conscious decision in your life. The kind of decision where when you've done it, you will never ever go back. Have we all had an experience like that? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Now the thing is I was always staggered by people that had made those decisions about why, even though they'd had experiences before, what was it that made them keep to that decision so that they would never go back? And I was interested in this when I first got involved with Tony Robbins about 29 years ago, when I was 10 or 11, because there were a small, don't laugh too hard, please. There were a small number of people who would go to UPW who would make massive changes in their lives immediately. But then as I was selling tickets, the same people year after year would say, I want to go again. Why? You know, if you sorted out all those problems, they'd say, no, but I just love going to see Tony, he's great. And I wondered what was the difference. But somebody mentioned about coincidence. And I was also intrigued about how coincidences occur. Because what people tell me and what my experience has been is that when I made the decision to do something that's right the way through my body, I find that things start to happen to support me. Does this make sense?
Yes.
We've all had that, haven't we? Now, some of you may have heard of the RAS, the reticular activating section of the brain that is goal-orientated, and it starts to open up things that you put into it. But this, to me, was absolutely phenomenal. I wanted to know why I had one friend who we spoke to each other about once every year, and this is way, way back, but every time we decided we'd make a phone call, we were always engaged. Because we were phoning each other at the same time. And I was intrigued by that, and I thought there must be something about this. It's just too bizarre. And so, getting involved with Tony Robbins and learning about NLP and all this kind of thing, things started to happen to me, and I wanted to know what the difference was. So, I started to look at some of the quantum mechanics, quantum physics areas. And I discovered, and that's one of the main things that really I want to give to you tonight, is this idea that you can change into the things that you want to have, be, get, whatever it may be, by just changing the whole of your body, including at the cellular level, and that you can do that. We teach some crazy things on the course that I teach. As Mindy mentioned, the course that Tolly Burkan taught. We do some crazy things where we actually show you how to move cells in your body. And we'll do some demonstration on that this evening. It's not mine. So I discovered a book by a gentleman called Cleve Baxter. Anybody here heard of Cleve Baxter? One person. Thank you, John. Cleve Baxter was a polygraph expert. A polygraph expert is a person who knows all about lie detection. They put electrodes onto people, and they basically measure the the skin for electronic impulse and for sweat and these kinds of things. He was an expert in that. And one crazy weekend, he wired up a plant. Because it was a really hard week and he had far too much coffee. And it was California. He wired up a plant and thought, I wonder if a plant would ever have an experience like a human. I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and get my burning torch and I'm going to burn it. And as soon as he thought that, the electrodes went crazy. And he thought, that's a bit odd. So he said, what happened in the room? Long story short, because I only have 18 minutes, long story short, he discovered that there is a change in the electric impulse in plants when decisions happen in a room. To the point where they had one man come in and there were 3 plants and he took the burner and he burnt the plant, and then they had 20 people, including that man, walk through a room one at a time. And when he walked into a room, the other plants let off an electrical signal. Now, he wasn't really praised for this work because he was one of the world's foremost experts on the polygraph. So he was kind of ridiculed for it. He started doing weird things with yogurt. They found that if you basically add antibiotic to yogurt, it kills it. But if you take yogurt and separate it, and then put the electrodes in one yogurt, you can take the other half of it and travel 10 blocks and put antibiotic in the yogurt, and it would set off the electrodes in the existing yogurt. And I thought, this is weird. They basically couldn't go far enough away, and it still made an impact. And I started to think, this happens to humans. This happens to humans. We have a thought, and then something happens that comes in randomly for it. And so, as I started to look into this, I thought, well, I know that when I first started reading Unlimited Power, I was skeptical. I came from a very impoverished family. But I understood about scotomas, blind spots, and so I thought, I'm going to do everything in this book like it's real and it's true. And I found that everything in the book was real and true, and it changed my life. But it also made me feel differently, so that when I approached certain things, I felt differently in my body. Some people would say it's perhaps confidence, some people would say it's arrogance, but I felt a certainty that I hadn't felt before. And so I started to look into this connection between your quantum character. That thing that happens when you have such certainty in your life that you can make things happen. And I started to look at how the mind affects the body. And I want to do something really quickly that demonstrates the mind and body connection and how quickly that can happen. Would you like to see that demonstration?
Yes.
Okay, so what I need is 3 volunteers. Now this is really, really easy. It can't be you guys because you know what I'm doing. But 3 volunteers, yeah? Please, and give them a round of applause. Yes, this lady here. One more. Really easy. Yeah, at the back, please come forward. That's it, we've got room for one more. Let's have one more. Great. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Grab that. 1 lemon. You just need some. Yeah, 1 lemon. Okay.
Did you say me?
Yeah, you can come up. Okay. Okay, now, we'll need one of these. Have one of those. One of those. One of those. One of those. Okay. Now, face the audience, please. In a moment, we are going to bite into these incredibly succulent lemons. These are extremely fresh and juicy. Here we go, see that? Juicy lemons. We're going to bite into them. But here's what I want everybody out here to do. I want everybody out here to hold your hand. Now, by the way, in the next 10 minutes, all I can do is give you a tiny section of what we teach in empowering people and taking them to new levels of personality and character. So play full out, if you will, for 9 minutes that we've got left. Hold your hand out like this, like you're holding a lemon. Hold it out. Remember how that lemon felt. You know, was it dimply? Was it waxed? Was it unwaxed? What did the last lemon feel like? I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, we're going to munch into our lemons here. But when I say go, I want everybody out there to munch into their lemons as well. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes.
I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, go. We're going to go for it. You don't need to look at us. You're just going to chew into that lemon. You ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh man. Oh. That's going to take me out for the rest of the 8 minutes. Wow. Okay. Okay, you can stop now. Honestly, lemon fetishes here. So here's my question. Who out here has had a lemon type expression in your mouth? Put your hands up, please. Those of you that haven't, look around. 90% of the group have had some kind of expression in their mouth. Increased salivation in their mouth. True?
Yes.
The thing is, we had lemons. Our brain picked up through our sensory perception that we had strong citric acid in our mouths, which our body and our brain responded to by sending alcoholic saliva into our mouth so that it doesn't accept our stomach. But what's your excuse? What's just happened is that, now by the way, who's it still happening for? Yeah? Still going. So those of you that are out there, through the power of literally just suggestion, your brain has reacted as though it's real. It's done everything that it did as though it was actually real. The mind connected to the brain, connected to the nerve, connected to the cells, connected to the receptors. So, with something, by the way, give them a round of applause, just got your round of applause. So what's the relevance of this? Well, here's the thing, is that if you can teach your body through suggestion to respond that way, then you can teach it to respond in other ways. The problem is most of us, we don't teach our bodies to respond in the appropriate way. For example, when we go in for that interview, for that job that we really want, we go in, I'm really looking forward to this, they're going to see my character shine through. They're going to love what I do, they're going to see how good I am, I love this company, they're just going to, you know, I'm feeling so confident right now, I'm dry, it's really good. Is that how we go into that job interview that we really want? No. What we do, apart from you, Ian, what we do is we say things to ourselves and make pictures and do things that lead us to sweating and lead us to feeling bad. Is that true or true? True. But the response, the physiological response, is basically down to what we do up here. And if you're one of the guys who, you know, who takes the strategy of actually saying those good things to yourself, I agree, like I do, you don't go through that trauma. You don't feel that way because you've literally conditioned the cells in your body to respond differently. Does that make sense? So what I do is I teach people through these processes that actually everything that you take for granted as being difficult for yourself is actually not difficult. We take people through a process where once they've been through that process, and it's not a mental process, you don't write lots of things down, it's experiential. But what we found is that many people who've been on, you know, other courses for a long time, because they've gone through those experiences, they literally look different at the end. Like you do when you've made a decision that you will never go back on. You look differently. What I found is that actually the cell structure of your body is different. The chemistry, the biology, the physical nature of your body changes when you've made a decision. You feel differently. And so you can learn to do this, whether you use imagination, whether you use vivid imagination or mantra or whatever, but the first trick is to find out what we're doing that isn't serving us. Charlie Buchan was fearful, so fearful of heights, he thought, I'm going to get over this by jumping from a plane with a parachute. That was his decision. But he had all this angst, and just as he was holding tightly, the inner voice was going, you're going to kill yourself, and he just went, shut up! And jumped. Because at that moment, his shut up went right through his body. It was a decision right through his body, and at that moment, it gave him a window to make a decision. And he made that decision. I was bullied as a child. I know I got to that point where I made that decision where I couldn't go back. And anybody that's been bullied knows that you will never go back after that. You just feel it in your body. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, just finally, before I wrap up here, that the idea that I have of quantum character is the fact that at any moment you can step into the right character that you need, having the right resources that you need in any situation. And it isn't with the resources that you already have if you don't do it. It's about developing new ones, and that's what we teach. But again, it's about the mind and the body being connected at the cellular level. So I'll see, I've only known you a brief period here, but let's see if we can make this work. I want everybody to stand up if you will. Now, most people have, a leg longer than the number of hands and fingers that are longer than each other. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to find the lines on your wrists, on both wrists if you can, and I want you to put your hands together and put your palms together, and just notice, if you have, just notice which finger, for me it's my right hand middle finger is about 1 millimetre longer when I put those things together there. And just notice, has everybody found one? Now if it's not, if they're exactly the same size, that's fine. But just notice if you've got one that's slightly longer. Now, if you've got one that's slightly longer, I want you to pick the other one. Okay? So pick the other one now and put it in front of you. Now what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to say a mantra, and that mantra is simple, it's going to be grow. And you're going to be focusing on that finger growing. And the mantra is going to get bigger and bigger and louder and stronger until you feel it resonate through your whole body. Does everyone understand what I'm asking? Yes. And we're going to keep on going until I think you're giving it 100% of your energy. Everyone understand?
Yes.
Follow me. Look at it. Grow. 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 Put your hands together. Put them together. Okay. Have a seat. Have a seat. Even from up here, I can hear the word. I can hear the word breast and penis from 20 years ago. I want to just tell you that, having that decision that goes all the way through your body is something that you can do. Now, I managed to do it with, unlimited power, reading books. I then went on and bought everything in the bibliography. I was a bit fanatical back in those days. But there's so much evidence out there that the mind and the body are connected and that you can step into your perfect character whenever you need to. You just need to either learn how to do it for each individual thing or go on a course that challenges you massively. And if you want to know more about that, speak to myself or speak to my friend John. Just put your hand up there, John. Speak to John and he'll share it with you. There's no questions for this because it's just an 18-minute section. Thank you very much for your time. My name's Steve Gonsalves. If you've liked what I've talked about this evening, please share it with people. And if you haven't, just keep it to yourself. Thank you.